Well, it's become the unlikely symbol of freedom, the humble old gas stovetop. That's the latest crusade from the climate mob. Anti-gas, they want households to get rid of it. New builds have to be disconnected from gas to reduce climate emissions, they say. So forget about the joy of cooking with gas or the cheaper energy that comes with it, or using gas heating this winter. The Climate Council wants to end all of it. Energy Networks Australia has this week warned against the follies of this push. So joining me now is Environment Editor at the Australian newspaper, Lloyd. Graham, thank you for joining us and happy Easter to you. Now, households only account for 2% of national emissions, which is way behind agriculture, way behind transport, electricity production, etc. So why, of all things, are they targeting gas use in the home?
Well, good afternoon, Caleb, and happy Easter. Well, the humble gas appliance has become the new front in the culture war globally, really. This isn't something that's confined to Australia. The United States is having a robust conversation as well. The push is to try and get gas out of the homes, to replace gas stoves and other appliances with electricity. And the reasoning behind it is, or what the claim that's being made is that gas stoves are linked to asthma with children in the home, and that it's cheaper if you switch over and it's good for the environment. Well, Energy Networks Australia, this is the group that owns represents the power poles and the gas pipelines, has pushed back on this, and they've said, look, the claims don't really stack up. If you look at the best science with regard to asthma, there's no link between gas appliances in the home and diagnosis of cancer or episodes. They say that if you model the payback in terms of replacing appliances in the home with electricity ones, the payback can be anything from 9 to 18 years. Most of the appliances don't last this long, so there's no saving there at all. And if you're doing it to save the planet, well, if you replace the energy with renewable energy, so you're getting all the power from solar or what have you, you may make a case. However, electricity predominantly doesn't come from renewables. It comes from coal and gas and other things, so the savings just aren't there.
Graham, you're not seriously telling me that the green mob aren't actually basing this on the best available science, are you? That surely couldn't be the case.
Well, as with all these things, Caleb, these are contested things. And if you look at a lot of things that are done in the name of tackling climate change, there's a lot of cherry picking goes on. There's a lot of preferential quoting using facts to suit the case, and this is why there really needs to be a robust examination of what's being said and a pretty vigorous test of whether you're doing any good or you're just making yourself feel good and wasting everybody's money.
Yeah, and if nothing else, it's much easier, I find, to cook with a gas stove top. I mean, I've got an electric one in the rental I live in. You can't heat up a wok on it. It's no good for that. Now, how about this report in the AFR this week, Graham? I mean, it's not much of a surprise to those of us who've been paying attention, and I talked about this on the show last night, but John Keogh, their economics writer, said the transition to cleaner energy is becoming a tax break and subsidy gravy train for higher income earners and the wealthy. So basically you and I as taxpayers and everyone at home, we're subsidising wealthy high income earners with concessions on things like, expensive electric cars, solar panels, putting batteries on your home. Never mind that there are millions of Aussies at home at the moment who can barely afford their power bill, let alone consider getting in on any of these kinds of schemes. I mean, how does this work? It seems to me that basically the poor are paying to make the rich richer, and we're couching it in the terms of being, nice for the environment.
That's right, Caleb, and has ever been thus. There's no such thing as a free lunch, and if you are trying to persuade people to change their behaviour by giving them a bit of money from the government, you're effectively giving them taxpayers' money, and it's those that are less well off that are least able to take up the incentive. We've seen this with solar panels on the house. It's generally more affluent households that can afford to do it, and certainly it's renters that get excluded. So in effect, they are subsidising for people who choose to put the panels on the house, and this extends all the way through. Now, there's a lot of attention being applied to the electric vehicle, which is really the poster child of a transfer from the less wealthy to the more wealthy. In the push to get people to buy electric vehicles, there's all sorts of tax incentives and breaks being put in place now. One of the biggest being an forgiving of the fringe benefit tax. So this can be worth many tens of thousands of dollars for people who buy the electric vehicles, but still they're out of reach for the average person. So really the average person is paying a wealthy person to look pretty good on the road.
Well, is there a better way to do this though, Graham? I mean, if governments want to go down this decarbonisation road, is there a way that they can get lower income earners in on the scheme and perhaps save them a little bit of money as well?
Well, you go to the heart of the argument about the best way to really respond and lower emissions. Economists have always said the best way is to fix a price on carbon and then let the market work it out. Without a price on carbon, you end up with all these ad hoc schemes of subsidies and other arrangements. And when you calculate the cost per tonne of abatement, it's absolutely excruciating. So it's much, much higher per tonne, say, for an electric vehicle subsidy or other measures than it is if you just applied a price overall. This has been at the heart of the culture wars, if you like, on doing something about climate change, and all these other sort of state-based programs and subsidy programs have sprung up in consequence, so people can be seen to be doing something, but it's definitely not the most efficient thing.
Graham, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.